All right, welcome to another video. I've got about an hour this Sunday afternoon. I'm gonna fix my audio here quick. Okay, test, test, one, two. Hopefully the audio's a lot better now. I'm not quite sure what I want to do for this video. I guess I was thinking about just continuing with my Python for DevOps series. But the problem with that is I'm really pretty stuck on that, so it would have to be another troubleshooting video in order to get any farther. Which I mean, there's not necessarily anything wrong with that, but I hate to just do nothing but troubleshooting videos and not end up getting anywhere. Um, so another thing I could do is the wild networking series, the data collection and storage um, learning path for RealPython. Um, so uh, I guess I'm not sure which one I want to do. I kind of want to do this one. Um, so yeah, I think this is going to be the second video for my wild networking series where I go through the data collection and storage learning path in RealPython. So, okay, so I've got to pull that up. Perfect. Um, and then, yeah, so I'm pretty sure I did. So, as I explained in the intro video for this, we've got courses, quizzes, and tutorials. Courses, you've got to pay for a subscription to the site in order to take. We can see that might be something somebody might consider because we've got a lot of good topics here that they go through. But this is the Wild Networking series playlist where anything I do is just out in the wild. You can go and do it yourself without any kind of special access or anything like that. I mean, it gets a little tricky. Let's say that you're watching this in a foreign country and you can't access some of the stuff I can access. Um, I don't take measures to do anything like that. Um, but I'm operating under the basic assumption that anything I don't pay for or get as a result of belonging to something, uh, it's accessible. It basically, if I can access it just through Googling for it, I assume that anyone can access it that way as well. All right, so I was working through this. I was working through the first tutorial on here because all the tutorials are free. So we've got 6 tutorials. Here's the first one, Introduction to Python and SQL Libraries. All right, and I remember reading some of this. Let's just take a quick look at where I left off. Oh, right, I was having all kinds of issues. I think the first like command on here I couldn't get to work. Oh, I think there was like a hmm. Right, I wanted to use PostgreSQL SQL, so anything where there was an option on which database to use, I was going with that one. Yeah, so I think this is yeah, so you'll need the servers up. So for quick intro, so how to start my SQL server, we're going to go here to learn how to create a database in PostgreSQL SQL. We're gonna go here. So let's. So yeah, I think this is where I was last time. Yep, and then I was doing this create a database here, and this command wasn't working. Okay, so let me pull up my command, my lab, and I'll try running that command again. I'm starting to get quite a few updates behind, so at some point I will want to update my lab. I think it's important to keep things up to date, but um, that's one of the ITT. I think it's ITTL, but it's IT best practices. Yeah, standards. So um, what is it? There's like the ITTL or something. Um, I mean, I never dived that deep into that because I was focused mainly on learning network engineering, but I know that there is a widely agreed upon set of best practices for delivering IT services. And one of those best practices is, here it is. So ITIL. One of those practices is so information technology infrastructure library is a set of detailed practices for IT activities such as IT service management, ITSM, and IT asset management, ITAM, that focus on aligning IT services with the needs of a business. So yeah, so when it comes to upgrading GNS3, um, since that upgrade could potentially cause me some downtime, be a bit difficult to implement. Um, I kind of have the same needs as a business would have, so I would want to align my upgrade of my GNS3 server to these ITIL practices. So let's see if we can find the ITIL practice for doing a software update. And let's look at the reception in case there's a criticism and there's a better set of standards. Uh, okay, it looks like there's ITSM, which might be, yeah, which might be a better set of standards. Because when it comes down to it, it's really just a training program. So if you have a training program that teaches IT professionals best practices, but you've got to buy a giant book, you've got to go through a giant certification process, everything is kept under lock and key. It doesn't matter how good your training program is to some extent. If you have another set that's open and available and people can reference at any time, that's going to have a different kind of value. The training program, you'll get people who actually devote their lives to that, as I've been doing with like the JNCIE. That'll come out of there as these perfectly trained people that can go in and do some really great work right there on the fly. Um, but if that person leaves, if that person, you're dependent on that person. Whereas the other way around, you can that knowledge is free and widely available, and it comes with the disadvantage that nobody's 100% trained in it. You can make mistakes, but the fact that it's there, um, openly available, free to look at, transparent. is always it's always what I prefer. I in most cases prefer knowledge that is transparent and open and available to all. Kind of privileged knowledge um, is I think it's important in some cases, especially when it comes to like medical stuff. You don't want like everyone to be able to like dissect cadavers or whatever. So privileged knowledge does have its place, but when we're talking about IT industry best practices for IT professionals, if there's an open set of best practices that you don't have to get a license in, buy a book in, or purchase otherwise closed materials to learn about, that's the one I'm going to look at, the one that's free and transparent. So it almost looks like this um, ITSM, information technology service management, um, is that it's more of kind of an open source framework for IT best practices. Oh, this actually looks like, okay, so I wanted to kind of see what the best practice would be for doing the update of my GNS3 server. But I don't think that's going to be super easy to find. I guess what I can do is IT best practices for software updates. Yeah, so this all isn't relevant to me. I was looking, I was hoping to find something that was like part of a broader set of best practices. This looks like it's just uh, something specific to uh, Microsoft. Okay, so I guess I'm just going to move on. I've got my lab up now, so I'll try that command again, the one that wasn't going so well for me last time. And if it doesn't work, which of course it will not, um, I'm not sure exactly what I will do. I will probably take a break. I'll take a 5-10 minute break and I'll come back and see what I want to do next. Okay, so it looks like the only 11 dot version is dot 13. Um, so that's a little bit confusing to me. I could get I thought I could get any version, but it looks like I'm only able to get the 11.13 version. Oh, and something randomly. Okay, okay. I'm used to seeing that. Let's see here. Okay, so we're gonna have to install this. So let's install version 11, and then we'll just open this in the browser here, and then hopefully we can just click download. Okay, and I do have to take a quick break soon. But let's click download. We'll go with version 11. So I did do all of this before. I didn't have the best luck with it, but we'll just try it again. So we're using Linux, we're using a Debian-based distribution, but the distribution we're using that is based on this Debian is Ubuntu, which has its own option here. So we'll select that. Okay, so here's a, now this could be the problem as well. It looks like the post GRES SQL apt repository supports the current versions of Ubuntu. So I don't think this is a problem because we're using version 18.04, and we can check that by doing cat etc os release, and we can see we're using 18.4. But here's where we might have a problem because there are only 4 architectures that um, are supported for this database. And we're using a VM, so I don't even know what the architecture is. And I've tried this before. So let's say Ubuntu, check your architecture. So hopefully that will auto resolve. It does. Yes, this is exactly what I wanted. Okay, so to check your architecture, it's uname-m. Um, okay. Oh, okay. We can also go to the System tab and open System Monitor. Let's try that instead. We get a GUI which might be a little bit more clear. So I think this is going to be under Settings. So if we go to if we click the Show Applications, and then we go to Settings, there should be a Systems tab or a System tab or Details maybe. I don't see where. So where's this Systems tab that they're talking about? Systems Monitor. System Monitor. So let's search for that. Don't have it. Okay, so I just don't have System Monitor installed. I can probably install it, but I'm gonna instead rely on the uname-m command. Okay, and we've got an x86 underscore 64. So we don't have this. It's not. So it's I think it's a 64-bit architecture. All right, and I really got to take a break. I'll be back shortly. Okay, I'm back. My volume indicator says that I have audio input. So let's keep looking at this and seeing if the problem is that my VM doesn't have the right, or if I cannot install a database on a VM. I have a feeling that might be the problem. Um, let's try this command here. And I'm pretty sure this is a 64-bit system, so we'll go with this one. So let's install this package. I think this will make things the easiest. We saw the output they got in the example here is AMD 64. AMD 64 is one of the supported architectures. So it looks like we'll get output that we can use to verify uh, the architecture as listed in this documentation, as long as we install this package. And before I do that, I'm going to do an upgrade. Lots of updates are needed. I think I haven't used this VM in a while. All right, I might take another real quick break here. I'll be back shortly. All right, I am back. We are at 41%. I was only gone for probably less than a minute. I just needed to stretch out my shoulder a bit. It looks like moving right along though. Hopefully it'll be done soon. Next step is to enter the command here and see what our architecture is. All right, 99%, that's a good thing. Looks like we're all done here and there's not another step to go through. So so here we go. We've got our architecture. We're running AMD 64, which is the first on the list, so we are good to go. All right, so now let's go through and now we should have, it says here that Ubuntu includes GRESQL by default. So that's interesting. But it's included in the you still have to install it. It's just it's included in the files available to install. So it's probably even in the software center. Huh, okay. I'm not sure what's happening here. Um, wondering if I can use like a wildcard character. Okay, it just didn't find anything. Um, all right, so yeah, I don't think it has it in there. But good news is our architecture is supported. Let's use this command here. And let's go with, I guess I want to go with 11. Okay, I guess they want, um, okay. Okay, so I'm going to do some reading here. This section is SQLite. SQLite is probably the most straightforward database to connect to with a Python application, since you don't need to install any external Python SQL modules to do so. By default, your Python installation contains a Python SQL library named SQLite 3 that you can use to interact with an SQLite database. What's more, SQLite databases are serverless and self-contained since they read and write data to a file. This means that unlike with MySQL and PostgreSQL, you don't even need to install and run an SQLite server to perform database operations. Here's how you use SQLite 3 to connect to a SQLite database in Python. Okay, so let's worry about installing this later and follow the first example here. Because I want to install the right version. I'm not sure if they're using 11, 12, or 13, so I'll wait until I get to that section and then install the version that is used in the tutorial. Okay, and we'll just do everything in the Documents folder. Okay, and we'll name this database, we'll name it SQLite3 example.py. All right. Okay, so we're defining a function here. We're not defining anything that calls the function yet, so there's going to be more to this code later. Okay, so I'm going to save this for now. We'll have to come in back into this file later. We can try to run it now, but it won't do anything. It will give us a um, error if I mistyped anything, though. In some cases, I mean, if it's in a function, you can have gobbledygook in the function, I believe, and then Well, I think defining the function has to be free of error. It's not just when you call the function, it has to be free of error. Um, so yeah, this is a good thing to do to make sure that there were no typos. Here's how this code works. Lines 1 and 2, import SQL Lite 3 and the module's error class. So I'll open this again. I'll do set number. Okay, so here we've got line 1 and 2. Line 4 creates a function dot create connection that accepts the path to the SQLite database. Line 7 down here uses dot connect from the SQLite module and takes the SQLite database path as a parameter. If the database exists at a specified location, then a connection to the database is established. Otherwise, a new database is created at the specified location and a connection is established. Line 8 prints the status of the successful database connection. Line 9 catches any exception that might be thrown if connect fails to establish a connection. And we can see connect. Um, hmm, I don't see dot connect anywhere. Oh, looks like I did have an error here. I wrote connection instead of connect there. So that would definitely be a problem. So we can skip to that line. That's line 7. There you go. Oh, that's interesting. It actually skipped to line 8. Oh, okay. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now we've got that error fixed. Line 10, and we can skip to that by doing escape :10. Displays the error message in the console. SQLite3.connect path returns a connection object, which is in turn returned by create_connection. This connection object can be used to execute queries on an SQLite database. The following script creates a connection to the SQLite database. Okay, so this is a Python script. Okay, so here we're calling this function, this create connection function. Once you execute the above script, you'll see that a database file sm_app.sqlite is created in the root directory. Note that you can change the location to match your setup. Okay, so let's add this line and run the script and try to find this file. Okay, so we're adding a line 14 here, but I'm unable to share my clipboard for some reason. I'm sure there's a way to do it, but okay. I might need to install something. Okay, it's not too bad to type it out. I'm a adequate typist, so it's not too much time lost. All right, so let's run this thing and look for that file. Aha, so it's successful. So that's going to be in the root directory. Ah, and it looks like it actually created it, not in the root directory, it created it here. So let's cat that out. And it's just an empty file. Ah, okay, so the root directory of where the script is. All right, the root directory relative to the script. Okay, so yeah, that went really well. Let's move on to the next section. This is MySQL. Unlike SQLite, there's no default Python SQL module that you can use to connect to a MySQL database. Instead, you'll need to install a Python SQL driver for MySQL in order to interact with a MySQL database from within a Python application. One such driver is mysql-connector-python. You can download this Python SQL module with pip. Okay, so we're going to do that. I always like to have a virtual environment whenever I use pip. It makes all the commands a lot cleaner, the output nicer because it's an optimized environment for Python. So let's start with that. We're going to do Python 3-m venv. And then I always like to just call it venv. You can use any name you want, but it can get pretty confusing pretty quick if you use a different name. One good reason to use a different name is if you have different projects. But even then, just put your different projects in a different folder, and then in the main folder for your project, have another folder called venv, which is your virtual environment. So it doesn't come by default, a virtual environment, so you've got to install that. Really tricky for beginners, really poorly explained to in most tutorials, but definitely a crucial step when doing anything with Python. Once you have that virtual environment running, everything else just happens a lot smoother. I mean, if you're an absolute beginner, like for me, when I first started Python, I knew of virtual environments, but like anything I did, like a virtual environment made it a million times harder, just because I couldn't figure out how to um, do certain things. And then let's say that you're at work, your computer's locked down, you have Python on it, but reaching out to an app, something like that, sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. And you say you have only Python 2.5 available on your computer, you want to update it. Well, no, you can't update it because your computer's locked down. You put in a ticket to IT. IT says we'll update you to Python 3 in 2 months. So you got to do it now. So what I would say is just, use Python 2.4. um, Okay, so let's see here. So, yep, we're going to create a virtual environment. Okay, we got that. So now we need to activate it. All right, so now we can do the pip install command. I'm going to upgrade pip first. There we go, and we get that nice histogram because we're in a virtual environment. All right. All right, so note that MySQL is a server-based database management system. One MySQL server can have multiple databases, unlike SQLite, where creating a connection is tantamount to creating a database. But you can create multiple connections, so I think so. Yeah, it's kind of a false dichotomy there. A MySQL database has a two-step process for database connection creation. Number one, make a connection to a MySQL server. Number two, execute a separate query to create the database. Define a function that connects to the MySQL database server and returns the connection object. Okay, so we're going to type this script out next. It's going to be called MySQL example.py. Okay, and we'll do a set number. There we go. And then we'll go into insert mode. Okay, it looks like by default, tab key gives me 8 spaces instead of just 4. Wish I could change that somehow. I'm kind of tempted to look into Vi optimizations. And I am opening Vi. I believe I can open Vim instead and maybe get some optimizations by doing that. But I'm used to using Vi instead of Vim because I'm used to using some networking equipment that has Vi but does not have Vim. In the above script, you define a function create underscore connection that accepts 3 parameters: hostname, username, and password. The mysql.connector Python SQL module contains a method.connect that you use in line 7. So let's pull this up again, and we'll try using Vim this time. Okay, here's line 7. Let's see Vim highlight. Oh, let's try this. Highlight. Okay, well, I'm not, I want to do this, but just with the keyboard. I'm not sure how to do that. Once the connection is established, the connection object is returned to the calling function. Finally, in line 18 down here, you call create underscore connection with the hostname, username, and password. So far, you've only established the connection. The database is not yet created. To do this, you'll define another function, create underscore database, that accepts two parameters. Number one, connection is the connection object to the database server that you want to interact with. Number two, query is the query that creates the database. Here's what this function looks like. All right, so we got one more to create. I'm sure there's more than just that. So I can do a control home to go to the top, control N to go to the bottom. One thing that's also kind of cool is I can do a shift end. So if I just do end and go to the end, I can go to the end of the line. But if I've got something like this, I can do shift end. Oh wait. Oh no, I can't. Okay, well, maybe it's control shift end. I thought I could move my cursor to the, like, for example, here we've got a section denoted by parentheses. Okay, well, that doesn't work. I thought I could move to the end of that section, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Okay, so we'll go into insert mode and create a line 20 and define this function. To execute queries, you use the cursor object. The query to be executed is, what the heck? Oh, my camera stopped. So let me uh, see if I can refresh that. Not sure how to do that. I guess I'll just remove it. Oops, I removed the wrong thing. It's the video capture. Okay. Shoot. Okay, deactivate, activate. All right, I'm back. I've got kind of a oh. Do you want to keep them? Let's do a cancel, and then we'll do a cancel. Okay, okay, so we're back. Now I need to add my screen capture back. So it's going to be display capture. And then my second display I want to capture. And then I need to send this, change the order of it, move to bottom. Perfect. Okay, I'm back. So I added the function to execute queries. You use the cursor object. The query to be executed is passed to the cursor.execute in string format. Create a database named sm underscore app for your social media app in the MySQL database server. So we've got to add these lines next, lines 28 and 29. And then, so here we're defining, yeah. So this is a SQL command here, create database. sm_app. All right, and then here we're going to call that function that we created on line 20, create database. And then we'll pass it the string we defined on line 28. Perfect. Now you've created a database, sm_app, on the database server. However, the connection object returned by the create_connection is connected to the MySQL database server. You need to connect to the sm_app database. To do so, you can modify create_connection as follows. Okay, so we need to now feed it the database we want to connect to. So we add another argument to this method here, which has a parameter defined to allow for a database, but it's a default parameter. Defaults to none, I believe, if you don't pass it one, so you can choose to pass it one or not. So we're going to go back, we can go up to line 10. There we go, we jumped over to line 10, we'll go to the end of the line, insert mode, and then create a comma and add this argument. Perfect. You can see in line 8 that create_connection now accepts an additional parameter called database_name. The parameter specifies the name of the database that you want to connect to. You can pass in the name of the database you want to connect to when you call this function. Okay, so now we can add an extra argument to the custom to the function that we defined. Um, so there's one thing they didn't highlight in here. Um, they also added a parameter to the definition of this function. We did not have that before. So let's go back into this. We'll do a set number, and then we'll jump. Yeah, so see here on line 4, we still have 3 parameters defined. We need to give it one more parameter. All right, and the name of the parameter is going to be db_name. Perfect. Okay. The above script successfully calls create_connection and connects to the sm_app database. Okay, so we need one more line in our script, and that's actually creating the connection. It's calling the, so yeah, so we've got this create. Oh, okay. So we created the database. So now we need to create the connection to the database. And we do that by calling this create connection. So we're actually going to create another. Yeah, so here we created a connection just to the, so we're going to create, okay, I'm actually a little bit confused what's going on here. Oh, no, I think I understand. So with MySQL, one of the advantages it has, which, as I said before, I'm not even sure if it's an advantage, but you can create tables within a database. You don't have to have a separate database for each table you want, unlike SQLite. So what we're doing uh, here on this line, which I need to set my numbers again. Yep, so line 19 is we're creating a connection here. But I wonder if they want this to be. removed because this. Yeah, so you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna do like a malicious compliance and just run this, and we're gonna see an error message on line 20. Yeah, so it was on line 19, and we can see it's missing a positional argument database name, and that error message makes a lot of sense because we added an additional parameter here. So when we call the function, we've got to give it 1, 2, 3, 4 arguments because there are 4 parameters defined. We only gave it 3 arguments down here. So the tutorial kind of left a lot of things out. You've got to remove some of the extra lines here. Uh, okay, so we got to remove that line. Um, Perfect. These lines are just fine. We're just creating a database. So we need one more line here that we're missing, and that's to connect to the database that that we just created. This line that removed was from an earlier example where we're just learning how to uh, connect to a database, kind of like the default database without creating a custom one. So now we're going to connect to our custom database. Perfect. So we've got a problem here. Connection is not defined on line 28. Okay, so we don't have connection defined. Uh, oh, okay. So this is happening out of order. Oh, I see. Wait, what? I'm really confused. I don't think that what they're doing here makes sense. I think the tutorial's messed up. Oh, whoops, I messed up. How do I undo? There you go. Okay. All right, I think this might work. No, none type has no object cursor. Line 22. Line 30 and line 22. Oh, this resulted in a none type. We couldn't create a database or somehow. Oh, you know what? It's because I didn't install MySQL yet. That's the problem. Okay, so we got to do that. Oh, but I installed a connector, but I didn't install MySQL itself. And there were instructions to do that up here that I missed. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we go. So we can just use these commands, and that should do it. I've got to end the video real soon, but I think I'll have enough time for these commands, depending on how long they take. Okay, one more command. Get that ready. Oh shoot, I gotta set a password. Can't use an empty one. Okay, well, what password are they using? I think the tutorial gave it a password. Yeah, so the tutorial. Okay, so we did localhost for the host name. For the username, we did root. Oh, that's too bad. For the password, they left it blank. I'm going to not be able to leave it blank, so I'm going to go Tor, Toor, which is the reverse of root, and I can do that because I selected the lowest amount of strength required for my password. You see my password has a strength of 25, which undoubtedly is very, very low. Okay, and let's not remove. Yeah, well, let's keep that on there in case we need it. I mean, a lot of these are things that I would definitely want to answer yes to if I were doing this in production. Um, okay, there we go. All right, so now we've got, now we can try running that again. So Python, the script we were just working on, the MySQL example. And yeah, it's not going to work, I think, because I gotta add that password in there. So let's do that now. Set paste. Oh, not set paste, set number. There we go. And this is on number um, 19. Uh, yeah. Okay, and then it's going to be Tor for the password. Oops, and that's a insert mode Tor. There we go. Okay, hopefully that works. Didn't work. Okay, well, that's all the time I've got for today. Oh, I see. Access was denied. Um, oh, but that's what we got last time. So root at localhost failed. Um, you know what? I think maybe it's not root. I want to try to get this to work. So let's instead of doing root, let's do GNS3. Same thing, access denied. This is interesting. We used the password. Oh, okay. We used a password. That's what that means is that we used a password. It doesn't say which password we used. Um, so let's try not using a password. Yeah, so here we're not using a password, but we still got the same problem. So give it a sudo. Doesn't work. Okay, well, I'm out of time, so thanks for watching and see you in the next one.